Being the best at what you do means diversifying and adapting your current skills to increase your portfolio, or the things that you typically do. Now, sometimes it means stepping out of the realm of the things that you are not normally known for doing, and in case in point, I am usually known for working in the automotive performance fabrication industry. That's my industry, that's what I do. But sometimes it dries up a little bit, we get a little bit slow, and we go from eating these beautifully prepped marbled steaks that cost a fortune to chopping down some noodles coming out of the microwave, formerly known as ramen. Well, it kind of sucks. But being the best at what you do, or being the best at your game, means you are able to increase your skills and broaden them in order to achieve more and to keep that food on the table and keep steaks in your stomach. Case in point, right now it's a little bit slow, so I'm taking on the second thing that I do the best, or the most of, and that is making custom furniture. So here's a couple of designs that I like to do continuously involving metal and wood. Check it out. We are going to fly right on through the intro in the beginning here. So first, to get the legs down, I'm going to build a bar stool, by the way. We're going to get the legs cut out. They are actually 22 inches long. I'll tell you all about why in just a little bit. And then we need some supports to go with it. Also a place to put our feet. Now, you only saw me cutting 2. There's actually 4 apiece. You'll see that in a minute. Now, the top of it is going to be cut out of angle iron, which is 3/4 by 3/4 angle iron. And each side has to have a 45-degree cut on it, so that way we can make it up squarely every time we cut it. So I'm going to measure from end to end 12 inches, and we'll get all 4 pieces cut. Now, here they are. There's your legs, there's the supports, and there's the top of it that needs to get welded together, which is exactly what we're going to do right now. Taking a square, I'm going to get them all tacked up just to make sure that they stay, in place where they actually need to be. It's best to get them all tacked up first. Just to make sure I double check the measurements each time. Get them all tacked together. Make sure we got a perfect square. Now I'm going to flip it and get all the inside corners done, as well as the outside corners. Now, this is kind of the idea behind this. It's called a minimalist chair. So I'm going to have exposed metal, not painting or anything like that, and the welds will be left exposed. But I want to grind down some of the outside edge of the weld, and of course I'm going to take some of this mill scale off here. Now, it's basically ready to roll, just needs to get welded up here. So I'm going to grab a hold of these legs, put a couple tacks down on it, and then full welds. Very, very easy. Repeat the process 4 times until we get it done. That was pretty simple. Now, bar stools in general, they do need some support because the legs are relatively tall, and this is not the thickest metal in the world either. So we need to have a support section on it, and we also need a place for whoever's sitting on it to put their feet. Now, these are usually placed at about chair height, so it's just the same as sitting on a chair. When you put your feet on it, it'd be about that height. So most chairs are anywhere between 16 and 18 inches. So I measured 16 inches down from the place where you'll be sitting, and that's a good place for the supports and for your feet to actually rest on. And we get all of these welded up. Now, this outside, I'm kind of picky about how I want my reveal. So on these outside corners at the top there, I want to have one continuous weld from start to finish. So I don't really want to stop or anything like that and then restart. So I set it up to where I can just go all the way around that corner in one solid shot. Now, we're mating up to 1x1 tube, and 3/4 angle is what's on the top. So this little extra hole here can just be plugged up, no big deal. Now, this is 1-inch bar stock. It is 1/8 inch thick, and I welded 4 of them together basically so I can cut all 4 pieces at once. I don't have to duplicate or repeat. It kind of saves some time. So I'll get the center of it marked out based on a 1-inch section, and then we'll get it cut to length, or at least marked out to length, and then load it into the drill. Now, the foot pads, when they're totally assembled, they're going to be about 1 inch tall. And then we have 3/4 inch angle at the top of the legs, plus about 1/4 inch sticking out worth of wood top on it. So when you add the 2 or all 3 of those together, essentially the foot pads plus the angle top plus the wood top, you get about 2 inches. So if it's a 24-inch height bar stool, we take the 2 inches out of it and we cut the leg lengths to 22 inches. The foot pads were picked up at my local hardware store, and you can usually find them at just about any major outlet chain. And shout out to Michael, the guy who worked at Home Depot. He's a fan and recognized me, and he actually helped me figure out the thread size. So thank you once again. We're going to have one nut welded to the inside of the foot pad, and the other nut is there for the actual adjustment to lock the foot pad in place so it doesn't actually move. And then we'll just simply stick them down to the bottom of the chair. It's a very easy deal. Now, I don't want to grind them all down all the way, but I don't want them stabbing into anything or, tearing anything up. So just a little quick cleanup and dressing on the welds and around the sides there, just so it's, nice and clean. Now for the back side of it. Now this is kind of a tricky deal here. Is exactly how do you bend something or how do you use something to keep that minimalist design while maintaining some structure to it, because if you lean on the back of it, obviously you don't want it to bend or fall back off of it. So we're going to start using some small channel iron, and this is 1 inch wide and about 3/4 inches tall. As soon as I get that bent up, we'll just cut it in half, and then I'll stick it in the saw. Now, it does need to have a certain degree of layback to it, and rather than sit there trying to figure out how it's going to be or how I'm going to, measure it out or anything like that, I just stick it in the bandsaw and let it lay back against the backrest of the actual bandsaw and slice it straight down. That way, both pieces do have a certain degree of layback into them, and then I can get them cut down the way. Now, placement on the chair, pretty simple. I'd like them to stick at about a 1/2 inch inside, or at least 1/2 inch from the inside. So the outside edge of the backrest will be at a 1/2 inch on the inside of the chair. So that way it's not completely all the way to the end. It'll look a little bit better this way. I want to make sure that they're completely squared up before I get full welds down on them. So just start out with a couple of tack welds, double check, lay it flat on my table so that way they're both sitting where they're supposed to be, nice and even, and then I'll get full welds laid down on them. Now the piece in the middle of the backrest is going to be some 1/8 inch flat stock, but it's 4 inches wide. So after taking a measurement, I know I need about 9 inches worth of it, and it's pretty much the exact same way as before. I don't want it flat, I want to have some curvature to it. So I measured halfway, stuck it right in the middle of the press, put the piece of tube on it, and bent it right down the middle again. Now just a little mild bend here, just to get it on there. And then I'll get it simply tacked in place. Nice and easy day. As soon as it's tacked up, we'll do some full welds on the back side. I'm not going to do the complete thing, but at least something with some uniformity to it. And that's that. Now just a little bit of cleanup of the grinder. I want to make sure again that it doesn't stab anybody, bump anybody, cut them open or anything like that. I mean, what good is a chair if it just hurts you while you're working? So rounding off the edges on the top, rounding off the corners, dress it up a little bit, and then I'm going to get it ready and prepped so that I can actually coat it. Now I'm just stripping it down with some acetone, good wipe down. I don't want to polish or shine, so no surface prep pad, just a rag and some acetone, just to take down some of the dirt and crap that's on it in the oils. Quick measurement on the inside, it's 11 3/4 by 11 3/4. That's the size that I'm going to need to cut. And then we'll take it outside and spray it down with some clear coat, and while that dries, I can get to working on the top. Now the top you might recognize is actually the old tabletop from my fab table. Now I did say I wanted to repurpose these and put them somewhere else, and they are definitely worn out to make a nice distressed look, especially for a minimalist chair. So I'm going to at least start out by, I kind of want it to look a little bit more distressed. Now people put a lot of effort into this, and I don't really understand why it's so complicated to most of them, but there are some very easy steps to doing it. The first one is I'm obviously going to, kind of dirty it up a little bit by using an ebony stain, just kind of randomly splattered on there and wiped off before I cut the whole piece to length. And, I'm kind of examining the edges here, and this edge of it was the actual edge of the table, and it's kind of no good, so I'm going to have to start from the other side. We'll get our measurements in there, 11 3/4 squared, and we'll get this piece cut to length. Very, very simple. Now, I usually like to distress the edges of it. I usually use nothing more than a grinder, but watch carefully here. I'm going to actually strike the grinder and actually hit my piece, so it takes big chunks and all kinds of other stuff out of it. Just to the thing here is imperfection. Imperfection is what we really want in distressed wood. So that also means that I'm going to take some gouges out of the middle of it and all kinds of other stuff. Now the edges are nice and clean because they were saw cut and they obviously don't look very distressed. So we have to add just a little bit of that effect. So a little bit more ebony stain, just kind of randomly splattered on there. And I'm going to utilize my parking lot here. This is very rough asphalt, years and years old. Toss this thing down there, stomp on it. Now a lot of people say to use chains and all kinds of other crap to try to make it distressed, but trust me, a gravel yard or some rocks, when you step on it, it'll definitely do the job. Including when you gotta go clean your stain off of your applicator here. Go ahead and just smash it down on that board, wipe it down, and then I'm going to go back over it with a surface prep pad, and that kind of evens it out and kind of wears it down a little bit before I apply the full color, the new color, which I believe I used is like a red mahogany. And obviously the idea on this is imperfection. Okay, we don't want to put it on nice and even or anything like that. We just want to blot it on there, and just wherever it sticks, and that's where it stays, and it's just that easy. The idea is imperfection, so rush the job, make it look terrible. And when it comes to laying down some nice polyurethane on here, I'm going to spray it in all kinds of different random directions because it's going to show in the final product. We want it to look old. So as soon as I get it all dried up and slapped on here, and these are my two chairs. Very easy to build, and they're worth quite a bit of money. There we have it. Just like that, you can make something, you can create it, you can expand. As long as your brain is working and you're thinking, you can go far, especially in the times of being slow. Well, that about wraps it up for this episode. I want to thank you guys very much for watching as always. Don't forget to subscribe to the Fabrication Series YouTube channel. Check out some of these more awesome videos, and I will see you guys on the next episode.